All right, let's get this thing kicked off. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michelle Copenal. I am the marketing manager here at Leap. I am joined by Caitlin. She's our senior customer relations coordinator. And today we are going to talk you through pricing best practices. So let's give everybody a couple minutes to roll in here. We're going to do some housekeeping items right now as you guys are getting logged in and comfortable. If you look at your GoToWebinar control panel, there's actually a questions drop down. If you have any questions throughout today's webinar, feel free to type them in, and we will answer them at the end. So this is going to be a nice, quick session on pricing best practices, and Caitlin's going to take it away.
All right, good afternoon or good morning, everyone, no matter where you're joining us from. My name is Caitlin. I am the Senior Customer Relations Coordinator here at Leap. So today we're going to be focusing on general pricing best practices when you've purchased the Leap application. So pricing is really the foundation of the application. So we're going to be talking about the best place to get started with pricing. That also does come into play with a few other of the features we have in the application, such as price formulas. So we're going to be talking about what you can do with the price guide as well as the formulas as well. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end. Alrighty, so why is starting with pricing so important? Sorry guys, there we go. Okay, so really, the price guide section of your application, it really is the foundation of the Leap application. So it is the first thing we start off with in our onboarding process. Some of you have actually already gone through that. Some of you might be new to it. But really that price guide is what allows your sales reps to build an estimate. All of the other features in the application, if you want to use the application to its full extent, use all of the benefits and features that come with it, starting with pricing is really the best way to go. Controlling that also allows you to start standardizing a process. I've talked to so many companies throughout the onboarding process, and all of their reps are doing different things, and it all stems from them selling in different ways. This can also help you just standardize that process for all of the reps as well. So we're going to be talking about the best ways to start standardizing the process and using all of the benefits with the price guide section of the application. Okay, so when it comes to pricing best practices with the application, there's really three main ways or methods that you can enter your products and services into the application in the price guide section. There will be some gray areas which we'll discuss at the end in Q&A or with your CRCs, but these are really the three main methods. Alrighty, so the first method is what we refer to as inclusive pricing. We also will sometimes call this retail-based pricing, MSRP. Some of the customers that I've worked with will call this your customer's price, so what your customers will end up paying you when they decide to actually go through with the project. So when we're talking about inclusive pricing, that means no matter what products or service you sell, as you enter those items individually into the price guide, the price of each item will incorporate the material, any secondary materials that come with that. So when we're talking about things like shingles, we all know that we need nails when we're going to be installing a product like that. So we want to just include that in the price of the item as well. We have crews who are going to be, going through with all the labor that's going to be involved with installing that item. So we're going to include that price in there. And then of course the markup. So what your customer will need to pay, you have to mark up the pricing in order to make money. All of that together is going to give you the inclusive pricing method or the MSRP method for each product. I do have an example that I'm going to show you, so you guys can see. Okay, so right here, I have a screenshot of my shingles that I've already entered into the price guide. In that red box, you can see the three options that I sell. So we have Duration Designer, Duration, and Oak Ridge. Each one is priced out at $700, $750, and $805 respectively. Each one of those prices per square of that product, that includes my shingles, that includes the labor, that includes those nails, that also includes the retail markup in there. all in that one price. So why is it a good idea to use the inclusive pricing method? It is very, very easy and quick to enter when you are working on your price guide, as well as any price adjustments that have to be made that maybe are based on manufacturer markups. It's really easy to implement that each time your pricing changes. So whether that's yearly, quarterly, you can do it really at the click of a button. Okay. So any questions that you guys have on that first method, anything's come up, go ahead and put all those questions in the control panel. And then we're going to move on to the semi-inclusive pricing method. Okay, so semi-inclusive pricing. So this is method number 2. You're going to see that our formula example here is pretty similar to what we saw. So as I'm entering those same exact products into the system, that price per square for my shingles example here, that includes the price of the shingles, any of those secondary materials, i.e. nails, and the markup that it would take for me to actually, of course, make money for this project. What I'm not going to include in that price per square when I enter that though is I'm not going to include the actual labor. So I'm going to go into a few reasons why I do and why I don't really recommend this method. Okay, so here I have an example. So again, we have the same screenshot from the price guide, but you will notice that I have the same 3 options of shingles here, but the price is a little bit lower. It includes everything but the labor. You can actually see the labor is a separate item right underneath of that, priced out at $200 per square. So why would someone want to enter their pricing this way into the application? There are a few pros. When price adjustments do have to be based on manufacturer, like when they start to, mark up their prices, you have to mark up your prices, of course. But perhaps you're a company who maybe you bid out for your labor. You don't always work with those same labor crews. So maybe those prices actually have to operate independently or change independently based off of that. Here's the reason why I really don't recommend this method. So there are a few cons. Obviously, when you have more line items, there's more data for you to manage in the system. So that will look to be a lot more for the rep. The other thing is there is a risk of the rep not entering the amount of squares for the material itself, our shingles, which is the example we're working with today, and then they could bypass actually typing in the labor. That is a few reasons why I really just don't recommend this as the best pricing method. We will go into a third method though of how you can enter your pricing into LEAP. This is referred to sometimes as cost-based pricing, or basically your price, so what you guys actually end up buying these items for from your manufacturers or your dealers. So as we're entering each price individually, we're not going to be actually entering the price with the markup like you saw in the first 2 examples. It's really just the item cost. So how can we still have our sales rep use the program efficiently so when they build an estimate, the pricing is the MSRP price, not the cost-based price? So we're going to go into that in just a little bit, but I do want to go over some pros why this is a great way to enter pricing as well, just as the inclusive method is. So it is easy to mark up your cost price of the items because we have a mass price change feature. Some of you may have actually already taken advantage of it. So when you are just interested in marking up your cost of an item because a manufacturer or a dealer comes to you saying they're upping something by 3% this year, you just click a button and you tell the program, hey, I want to increase the prices of all of this by 3%. And it's not going to affect your retail markup. That'll be in a separate place of the application from your cost pricing. All right, so here is a screenshot of what it looks like when someone is using this method. We are looking at the same exact examples here for my shingles. I've got my Duration Designer, Duration, and Oak Ridge. Those are 3 options I sell. Obviously, our price per square is much lower than what you saw in the first one because it's just my cost. Okay, so now we have gone over the 3 general methods of how to enter your pricing into the LEAP application. Again, if you have any questions, just pop them in the control panel. But it's very important for us to actually talk about our price formula feature when we're talking about pricing. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at those now. Okay. So for some of you who have gone through the onboarding process or are beginning that process, you may have already gone over the price formula feature. This is a separate feature from the actual price guide section, but it will help us basically just make that pricing always turn up as retail as a sales rep is working through their sales pitch to their customer. We always need the sales rep to be able to see that first. So because of this, there are a few different ways you can play around with price formulas, the actual formula itself, and then we also have some switches that we're going to talk about today that will basically affect where your formula is filtered to in the application. So on this page, I do have 2 examples of how your price formulas should look when you're using inclusive pricing versus when you're going to do the semi-inclusive and cost-based examples. So in that top formula there, you can see I don't have any percentage markups. In each one of these formulas, I am basically just making it very easy for a sales rep to offer discounts. The markup was already entered when I put in the price per square per each one of the products. That's not true with our semi method and our cost-based method. I have an example here, as you can see with the retail, it's a 40% markup because we didn't include that in the actual price of the item. And you can see that filters down to the discounts as well. So a couple of things that we want to talk about today is the switch features that we have on our price formulas. You can control where each one of these formulas will go. So we have the category switch formula that's always, always, always going to be where that retail formula needs to go. We're going to talk about why in a second. And then we also have a price button switch that you'll see available on every single formula. So this is great because this is going to be a tool that sales reps can easily use. It's literally at the click of a button to present pricing or calculate pricing for different discount levels. I don't have to do math anymore to get to my initial visit discount or the lowest that my company allows me to go. I literally just push a button. So that's what price button is going to do for us. I'm going to show you guys where you're going to see those filtered to now on the iPad application. Okay, so here we have a little screenshot of the iPad. You can see where the category switch is filtering to. It's giving you the subtotal of roofing and windows simultaneously right underneath of that gray bar. You see retail, we've got 16,323 for roofing and 4023 for windows. Now, if you look at the bottom of the screen, we can see the price button feature. So there is a way for them to filter through all those formulas. That little green dot you see is my finger just pushing the grand total at the bottom. So I'm filtering through all 3 of those, so I don't have to do the math to get to my discount levels. Now, if you've looked at this feature, you will see that there are a few other switches. So we have one called Result Note, Result Report, Price Guide, and Contracts. These guys don't actually affect the pricing on that estimate feature, that estimate screen that we were just looking at a second ago, but they do help us out in other areas of the application. So the result note and result report, those can be very helpful after an appointment is done. So if a sales manager ever needs to reference what a cost was for that particular project, that's why you can see my floor pricing switches turned on for those. Price guide switch, that one actually refers to the price guide that your sales rep gets on the iPad, not the price guide that you guys have been working hard on entering the pricing. Basically, that is a digital price book version that they can access at any time. So if they're not actively building an estimate, but they wanted to look up the cost of something, you can basically have that filter there. If you guys don't want individual prices of products to be seen by sales reps, you just get to turn that one off. Very, very easy. Contract switch will help us out in the obviously the contract section of the application. So if you ever wanted to reference one of these price formulas, generally separate from what the customer wanted to pay as their total, you can turn the switch on as well. Any questions about those, you can also pop them in the control panel. Alrighty, so we would like to just open up this time to answer any questions that you guys have. So if you want to enter any questions in the control panel, please do so now, and we're just going to go through and answer them one by one. Okay, so I have a question from Caleb. What is retail, initial, and floor mean? Great question. So the retail, initial, and floor price formulas are the ones that we just give you as examples to work with when you first purchase the LEAP application. Retail refers to MSRP of the full project. Initial visit is a term that we use as a promotion. So if your customer wanted to sign up the same day, you can give them a little bit of a discount. So if that's something that you allow sales reps to do on a pretty regular basis, it's a pretty good idea to have that as a price formula so they can push the button. In our example that we saw, the initial visit just took 10% off of the retail cost. And then floor is a term that we use that basically is the lowest a sales rep is allowed to go. That means they've hit the floor. So in my example, our floor price was 20%. If I'm out there in the field, I cannot go lower than that when I'm selling a job. So that is why that was the third formula that you see there. Keep in mind, guys, you can change the names of all of those formulas. So if these three terms are not what you use right now with your reps, you can change the names and keep the formulas the same. You can edit them either way. Okay, so I have another question from Savannah. I'm going to just read your question real quick. Is there a way some of our reps can add 5% to the retail price without having to do multiple equations? That's a great question. There are quite a few ways you can play around with price formulas. If it's a case where a sales rep is adding 5% on their own terms, and I don't want to have it in the price formula feature, there are some ways you can actually incorporate that into the contract section of the application. So if that is something that you're interested in, definitely contact your CRC if you're still in onboarding, or one of our customer support specialists if you're currently using Leap out in the field, and we can definitely help you with that and maybe come up with a custom situation. Great questions, guys. Yeah, Savannah, you're welcome. Caleb, you're welcome, of course. All right. Any other questions, guys? If so, pop them in the control panel, but those were some awesome questions. So as with anything, I'm sure now that we have gone through this webinar, the wheels are turning and you might want to figure out what's going to be the best way to incorporate your pricing, which method will work for you. So a couple of ways you can contact us. If you are currently in the onboarding phase, I want you to reach out to your CRC if you have any questions about what you saw today. If you have gone through the onboarding phase and are currently using Leap out in the field, definitely hit up one of our customer support specialists. I'll talk about how you can contact them in a little bit. If you're new to us and maybe you haven't purchased Leap yet, you were just interested in seeing what the pricing section was all about, just contact one of us for a free demo. I will also go over how you can contact us there as well. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. It was lots of fun. I really appreciate it. If you are interested in setting up a demo, contact us at info@leadtodigital.com, or you can give us a ring at the number you see on the screen. I think, Michelle, we have a form that they can submit on the website too, right?
Yeah, I'm going to follow up with everybody after the webinar with a copy of the webinar itself, and then you guys can actually click to schedule your demo right there. Somebody will be reaching out to you after, and we'll get you rocking and rolling.
Awesome. All right, and then for those of you who are already through onboarding and you want to contact a support specialist to help you out with what you saw today, you have access to the chat field. You have the phone number on the screen. And then for those of you who are in onboarding, best step, email that CRC. And of course, you can call us on that number as well.
All right, great. Thank you, Caitlin, very much. And thank you to all to join us this afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day and let us know how we can help.